start recording.
Any music?
Right, well, it's...
So I can't hear any music, so...
we had music. I had music. It's a very... well, it's February. This is episode 53 of Malt Travail Podcast. We were hoping to do our New Year's resolutions in January, but as always, things got in the way. So anyway, good evening, gentlemen. It's a rather gloomy, dark February evening. What is it, the 7th of February today? Snowmageddon's coming tomorrow, apparently, for those living in the Midlands and the North. So we're all, I must admit, I've just sent the missus out to Marks and Spencer's to fill the larder in case we are stranded for 24 hours.
Leave it when I say it.
I've still got lots of Christmas beers left, so I don't think I won't die of thirst. Slowly making some inroads into them. I think I've drank all my Guinness. I went to Tesco's on Saturday. Got the influence of rugby and Guinness. I mean, the Guinness was absolutely mullered in our Tesco's. It's just empty. All there was Brewdog, that dark stuff you've been on about, Nick, and all the Guinness had been absolutely mullered. So it's funny, isn't it, how bit of advertising on the television.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've got a few catch-ups to do because, as we mentioned in our last episode, we've been out and about a little bit before Christmas. Unfortunately, we didn't all three of us get together, but we've done it in pairs. So we've got a few of those, and then a few of the catch-ups as well to kind of go through. And we did say we'd catch up on a little bit of beery news because, again, it's kind of we're a month into the new year now. So we'll do some of that as well. So I must admit, I had some very good pints of Guinness, actually, in Manchester a couple of weeks ago when I went to one of the other Manchester Bears. We've mentioned Mulligan's previously episodes. I went to O'Shea's, having gone to see Mr. Peter Kay. But tell you, gents,
O'Shea's is good. Breakfast looked awesome.
In the AO Arena, it was £18 for a 2-pint of Madry. £18.
Oh my God!
So the cheapest drink, I think, was £6. A Bacardi Breeze or whatever they called, or a Smirnoff whatever bottle was £6. I think a pint was £9 something. You save 45p if you bought a 2-pinter, but I say it was £18. Anyway, let's kick off with some beer news. There is a man who claims in Kilkenny that over the New Year's Eve, he drank 81 pints of Guinness. And apparently that beat his record, which was previously of 78. And this was certainly all over the Irish press a couple of weeks ago. So I don't know who this guy's name was. He looks a fair youth. Apparently it's 186 units, which is 13 more in 2 days than he's supposed to have in a week. It cost him €400. And part of the evening, he was being encouraged to drink 100, but he didn't quite make it. So yes, 81 pints of Guinness is going some, isn't it? Really. So that was my first little bit of.
How the hell does he afford it?
Well, €400 is
probably
going
benefits.
Some. I did notice in that.
Right.
I think in some of the thing that it was saying that I think it's €9.95 a euro, €9.95 in Temple Bar now for a pint of Guinness, which is again quite extortionate, isn't it? In other news, Camera announced their pub of the year, and this year, well, I think it's for the second year running, actually, the Tamworth Tap was awarded pub of the year, and more of that because
it does look really good, doesn't it?
Yeah, me and Nick went to one of the other contenders, which is in lovely Yorkshire, which we'll pick up later on in the podcast. So the Tamworth Tap, yeah, it looks nice, is it? Tamworth's not too far from me, actually. I think from there, Nick, we went to Lichfield, didn't we? Because we had a brewing day in Lichfield some time ago. So yeah, maybe I've tried. Catch that. If you're in, and I know Nick goes down to Alras to the Arboretum, National Arboretum.
National Arboretum.
Yeah, that's not far from Tamworth. I don't even pick this up. Despite all these pubs closing, Wetherspoons have just spent over £2 million on a new, well, not a new pub, but they've just opened a new venue actually right next to Euston Station. Apparently, this used to be a strip club that was on Channel 4. Remember, there's a very strange program about cat people. It was called now Cat or Flicks or something. And Captain Flinders, apparently they found bits of Captain Flinders under Euston when they were doing the new reverberation. So it's a brand new pub. So again, if anybody's Euston bound, it's next to Euston. So a little bit like the Well, what's the one in King's Cross? You guys go.
Barrel vaults in St Pancras.
Yeah, well, but no, I'm about the
King's Cross, the old parcel.
The parcel, yeah. Which I know it's not Wetherspoons, but
no, that's a Fuller's. But next St Pancras is next door to King's Cross, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and they've got
So
that one in St Pancras is crap. It's like it's rubbish.
There's a barrel vaults in there, but once again, Bruce, you're paying a third less than what you're paying in other places 100 yards away. So,
but then the other one there is the Young's pub, isn't there, on the front of St Pancras, which is much nicer, which is very nice. So that's that one. And again, sad news really, in that because I think of some work going on, they have cancelled the Great British Beer Festival this year, which is normally down in Olympia. And apparently, because they're doing something Olympia, it's not available. So there were some suggestions that it should come north, because it hasn't been north since 1989. And in fact, Bruce, me and you went in 1989.
We did.
To the Queen's Hall.
Which you've got that beer map somewhere, Nick.
Probably. The Queen's Hall, which is unfortunately no longer with us. I can vaguely remember it. It was quite a nice summer's day when we went, and I remember having a very nice sausage butty and some very nice beer. So interesting, but they haven't done it. So I don't know again whether it feels a bit like there's quite a lot of beer festivals, and I can do a kind of 2-year thing now out there rather than a yearly thing. I noticed that Peak Enders is again, they're not doing Peak Enders this year. I guess there's a lot of red tape these days, a lot of organisation, and
insurance competition.
And then just another one, talking of Peak Enders, Titanic Brewery have done their first collaboration with Thornbridge. So apparently they are bringing out 2 beers. They're bringing out Carpathia, and then a bit later on in the year, they're going to bring out a Britannic. Now, again, I've got to say I failed miserably trying to get a pint of this. So I've set off last week to a couple of our local Titanic pubs. But they'd sold out apparently. As soon as it had gone on, they'd got rid of it. So a bit of a nightmare. But actually, it did get me thinking, because Thornbridge are doing quite a bit of this, aren't they? And we've talked about it quite a bit on the podcast. In that they I guess it's good marketing. It's getting your brand constantly out there by linking to. I've just, again, for those on YouTube, I've just put a few up. So I mean, this is what I mean. There's a lot more than this, but in the last 6 or 7 months, they've done a collab with Budweiser, obviously from the Czech Republic. They've done one with who else is on there? They've done Alrin. They've done Brewgooder. They've done obviously Timothy Taylor's, which was the first ever Timothy Taylor's collab, was the Artisan, which we couldn't get hold of. So
I did. I got a pint.
You got a pint, yeah. It's interesting that they're doing this. Obviously, Thornbridge, I think, I've got quite a good name, kind of craft beer wise, and of course, there's strong links to. There are links to Brewdog. There are links to Dave Wicks and the Fat Cat in Sheffield and Callum, isn't there? Because that's kind of where they all kind of kicked off. But it's interesting that it's and obviously they're very high profile. The brewery, every time I go to Bakewell, the brewery's got bigger, so it's obviously doing something right. I've got to say, in the main, the beers aren't too bad, actually. The beers are quite nice. So I'm going to try again this weekend, see if I can track down some. They did say there was another barrel in my local Titanic pub that they'd got in the cellar. So hopefully that will get us there as well.
I think I also got to try the Checkmates at the pub on Knaresborough station.
Yeah, I tried Checkmates. That wasn't too bad. Yeah. And then again, just we talked last time a little bit about cask. Again, not surprisingly, the other one, and we've had dry January, is that the massive growth in zero beers, which again we've talked a little bit about on the podcast, and the trends that again young people don't seem to be supping very much at the moment. Don't know what else they're doing because they're not smoking either. So again, just some trends about what's going on in alcohol. And then I thought
the vaping.
The vaping. Spent a little bit of time on this one since our last podcast. It was announced that, and again, it's been an ongoing theme, hasn't it, about Carlsberg Marston and closing a number of regional breweries. And we talked about Jennings in some detail, didn't we? And Ringwood was the last one we were talking about. And they made an announcement. I think they tried to slip it out, but it went fairly major, in that the Burton Union system, which they still use to brew Marston's pedigree, is being withdrawn. Apparently, they're going to keep 2 sets for the kind of museum, but they're no longer going to use this very unique way of brewing beer.
They closed the museum down.
Well, the Marston's,
Yeah.
I guess the Marston's Brewery Museum. And they also let slip that actually for the last few years, they haven't actually been using it. They've been blending beer anyway. They've been using a more modern system to produce most of pedigree and blending it, which we've talked about that because we said it doesn't taste anything like it used, as always. It doesn't taste anything else. And the big thing about pedigree is you don't get the Burton snatch anymore, which is that sniff of sulphur, which came from the Burton water.
Absolutely.
So
But
again,
I mean, you don't see it either. So they said it was economically not viable anymore. But if they're not producing the beer and sending it out there to sell, they can show low sales figures. Well, there's low sales figures on it because nobody can buy it anywhere. Tell you, man.
Well, they claimed it. They claimed it was a cask market, but we've talked in the past few podcasts that the cask market is quite buoyant at the moment, isn't it? You've got Timothy Taylor's expanding because the cask market is buoyant. You've got Thornbridge expanding. So yeah, I don't know. It feels like again just accountants and money. Yeah, trying to cut costs, make it simplify the
dumping on
process.
The British brewing history.
Yeah,
history of brewing, just dumping on it.
There's been quite a lot of kick-off. There's been quite a lot of petitions as always. So again, we'll perhaps keep an eye on that and see how that goes. There is still actually in the museum, while it's kind of still hanging on, there is still there's a wall of which got an old set of the Burton system that you can see from the outside. But there we go. So,
who are Carlsberg's biggest customers? Who are Carlsberg's biggest customers who are driving the prices down? Who are the biggest customers outside the supermarkets?
Well, they talk about lager, aren't they? They just want to. They view it. It appears that they think lager is where the future of brewing is, and that's all they want to do is brew lager. But I guess but their customers, I guess, are all over, aren't they? And let's be honest, you know, in every pub, even most real ale pubs you go into, the lager offer is shite, but it's still there, isn't it? There's always going to be 4 or 5 pumps of.
But wouldn't you say the sale of lager is going down? I mean, the sale of craft has gone up, so I would assume that would be lager drinkers moving on to craft. So
I don't know, Nick. I've just I finished off my latest blog about when we were up in Lakes Dales, and I was recalling that we were sat in the Kirkby Lonsdale brewery tap, fantastic place. We were sampling 6 different beers, weren't we? And a couple came and shared the table with us because it was so busy. Said they'd been in several times. They were on holiday, but all they were drinking was Madry. So they actually gone to a brewery tap. They gone to a brewery tap.
Madry is still
Northern Madry.
Yeah.
It's. I said to them, but this brewery do their own lager, and it's a very similar kind of continental style lager. Oh no, well, I could try it, but no. So going into.
But I mean, the statistics that young people aren't drinking as much. I mean, lager tend to be more a young person's drink. People, start off on cider because it's sweet, and then migrate to lager because it ain't got much flavour to it.
I don't know. I think.
And then eventually, as you get a bit older,
if you go to any football game, if you've been to Peter Kay last week in the AO Arena, virtually everybody was drinking lager. So I mean, there wasn't a great deal of choice, but
they want any beer on. That's why.
Yeah.
And it just wants to get it cheaper to produce, more profit in it.
Right, let's catch up then. So just before Christmas, you had a couple little runarounds. I think we picked up on Bruce's little trip to some West Yorkshire delights. And then you and I think Bruce, and later joined by Bruce's son, had a little venture out. I think you went to Leeds, you went to Harrogate, and you also called in Kirkstall Brewery, which I think was a new one for both of you.
Yeah, I was most impressed with Kirkstall Brewery, and of course, since we've been, North Brewing Co in Leeds was going to go, but Kirkstall Brewery stepped in to save them. But you have to say, I mean, Kirkstall Brewery was fantastic. It was by far the best brewery tap I've ever been to. They've really tried to get a bit of history in there, and but say it was December, it was insanely quiet. And I really like the beers, but I mean, again, down the road they had the Cardigan Arms, and again, I mean, a huge pub. All credit to them for keeping that open, but again, next to nobody in it. And
but it was midweek, wasn't it, Bruce?
It was, I suppose. But you have to think these places. I mean, that's a big investment that Kirkstall Brewery have got there, isn't it? Having said that, I mean, to be fair, they're building thousands of new houses down the Kirkstall Road. I mean, Kirkstall Road, for those people don't know, it's quite close to the city centre. It's one of the main roads out. There's still a lot of land to be developed. It looks like they're going to put loads of flats on. So soon, of course, for this brew tap and the Cardigan Arms, which was fantastic, they're going to have thousands of new customers. But you have to say this economics of these smaller breweries, sadly, I think they're making it harder and harder to turn a profit.
Were we using the £10 Northern Rail tickets, Bruce, that day?
Possibly, yes, maybe. Yeah, I think maybe had.
Because that's where the way that we went. We went via Harrogate, Knaresborough, and started off at Kirkstall. So got off at Burley Park, and then we worked our way back along Kirkstall Road. So we started off the brewery, got there for sort of midday, worked back down, went to Cardigan Arms. But before we went to Cardigan Arms, which is architecturally, it's one down, they reckon, from the is it the Philharmonic in Leeds? Victorian Gin Palace. We stopped off at Dave's Pie and Ale.
That's coming.
All right. Well, just going back to Kirkstall Brewery, right? We were leaving, and I spotted one of those grabbers that you see at the seaside. But instead of it being full of teddy bears, it was actually full of beery products like free pints and T-shirts and stuff. So I had over 18s only, that one. I had a quick go on it, but it was like those at Seaside. Didn't really win anything.
Again,
but no, it was a good start to the day.
Yeah, and looking at the beer, again, if you're on YouTube, there's the beer list in the middle of their tap list. So they had 7 cask beers on, all their own with again, they've got their own colour collaboration there with Vocation. £4 a pint, £3.90 for a pint of Kirkstall Bitter. Not bad price. Not bad. And then they had about another 12 or so keg beers on, again, some of their own. Interestingly, some Sierra Nevadas. Well, they were slightly more expensive, £8 a pint, but that's 7% of their own lager and a cherry beer as well. So very, very nice. So yeah, Dave's Pies and Ales. It's like Bruce's Nirvana. This does. So again, it looked like a nice range of beers on. Unfortunately, it looks like they only had one pie on though. Chili, full stop today.
And not the normal pot pies came. He not altered the board and took that picture. He did update him, didn't he? And,
yeah. It was just checking him out the oven, because once again we walked past there and it was supposed to be open at 12. Yeah. And there was a sign, just handwritten sign on the door saying open at 1 o'clock today. So we were from disappointment to all right. That's when we were walking down the Kirkstall Brewery, and this place is about 10 minutes back up the road. So worked for us ideal, really. Went to Kirkstall Brewery, got our first beer in because it was lunchtime, and then a nice pie and peas. It just put a little line on the stomach. So yeah, we were the first in there, I think, Bruce, weren't we? Just the guy in there.
Nice fella.
Just 3 beers. Yeah, just 3 beers on the bar. He says Morehouse's is very popular in there. But I'd seen this spot the last time I went solo on my own. Once again, it wasn't open, so I hadn't gone in that day. So I thought, well, this would be a good place to stop off and try. And it was, Bruce, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I need to ask, what's a big lad for £9 on the food menu? Did you ask what the big lad was? It's a big pie.
Yeah, we did. I think I was ordering before the day before, he said. I think
all right.
Pie, yeah.
Okay, big lad. Very good. And that's selling. That's in Kirkstall. Is it? I presume that's selling Kirkstall Dave's Pies and Ale.
Yeah.
Like a thing.
Kirkstall Road. Yeah.
And then you moved on to Harrogate, I think, here. So you've got a number of slightly. They get more and more blurred, I think, these photos, so you can tell what you're kind of on with. So you've got the Gardener's Arms here. You've got Hale's Bar. You've got Metcalf's Black Sheep Collab as well. So yeah, so you jump back on the train, I guess. And this was on the way back, was it, or way out?
Back on the train at Burley Park. So we jumped off Harrogate. First place was Harrogate Little Ale House, which is on Cheltenham Crescent. Once again, one that I found on my last solo little trip round, owned by a husband and wife. And once again, cracking place. Now, it was a little bit later on in the day, Bruce, but that spot was nicely full, wasn't it?
It was.
Quite a lot of retired people. And that's where we were around waiting for Ben to arrive, which is Bruce's son. So I think we had a couple in there, Bruce. And then you recommended we jump on the bus and go up to Bilton. So you can talk about that one.
Yes, Cricket's Arms at Bilton. If you're at Harrogate, you get the bus down, jump off at Sanford Drive. Well, the mean bus driver drops at the top of Stamford Drive. And before we're looking for the pub, I think he was laughing. It was a freezing corner. It said, "What the full length of extremely long Stamford Drive." Then, though, you get to Gardener's Arms at Bilton, which is a fantastic pub. Like Nick said, it's a bit like almost the Nellies in miniature. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 real fires in there, smaller rooms, stone flag floors. Really quite impressive, Nick. Serving hatches. Some are a fantastic garden, but again, on a dark night, very, very atmospheric.
There's a Sam Smith's pub.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant. Oh yeah, called Sam Smith's pub. So that's why.
And I think it's in Camera's Heritage Pub Guide. So it was another one that I was able to tick off because I'd never been in there before. And it's once you know where you're going, it's not a bad ride out. So it's worth maybe 10 minutes, quarter of an hour on the bus out and then back again. In fact, we got an Uber on the way back in. So there's 2 or 3 of you. It's just as cheap, certainly quicker to get an Uber back into the centre of town. And then, like you say, we just stopped off in Hillsbar and then back on the train again, back heading towards Knaresborough, which is a short hop. I've said it before. I mean, Knaresborough itself, you could have quite a decent crawl around Knaresborough. But by then it was sort of, what time was it, Bruce? Maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock, midweek again. And I mean, we One-Eyed Jack's, it was busy in One-Eyed Jack's, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And then
I was thriving in there, isn't it?
You went and got your fish and chips from Drake's, is it?
Delicious they were too. Why did you have fish and chips?
Well, I'd had a belly full of beer, bro. Last thing I want to do is put in a big fat fish on top of it.
And a big
Blind Jack. Blind Jack, so he's absolutely thriving little place down. The beers are absolutely spot on, aren't they?
That was a new one on the station doing. How was that new, the carriage place on the station doing?
It's doing really well. The trouble is, it's in a town that's absolutely full of cracking boozers, and I think it's not as busy as it should be, because when you get to Knaresborough, you're kind of keen to go explore the pubs. Then when you come back, you've kind of had enough, haven't you? And they deserve to succeed, but sadly, they are.
I suppose you wait for it wasn't.
Yeah, no, I mean, because it was midweek. I don't think by the time we got back to the station, I don't think it was open, was it, Bruce?
Yeah.
No, I think they have shortened hours. But I mean, once again, if people start to realise, even folks in Leeds, to do a little beer, rather than the West Yorkshire beer trail, they can actually go out that way, out of Leeds. They can do Headingley, they can do Hosforth, they can Knaresborough, they can do Harrogate. Then even, like you say, just literally jumping off the train and having 1 or 2 there and back again, because you've got the Mighty directly behind the station as well. So I mean, you can do two pints of real ale within 25 yards of each other.
Yeah.
I believe the Mitre has closed down, actually. And it costs us now 3 closed Sam Smith's pubs in Knaresborough, which is shocking. The commercial, fantastic pub, the other 2 are closed, but I believe the Mitre's closed. But the Half Moon in Knaresborough,
I mean, we know why the Sam Smith's pubs are closed, not because there isn't enough demand for them. It's just because nobody wants to work for Humphrey, unfortunately, anymore.
Now the podcast bingo's gone quite well. So we're 20 minutes in and we've already ticked off Wetherspoons. And now we've also ticked off Sam Smith's and hot off the press, some exciting news. My membership of the Brewing Heritage Society means that we have an opportunity in June potentially to go and look around Mr. Humphrey's brewery. So they've managed to organise a visit to the brewery. So I'm going to push my luck and ask for 3 tickets, Nicholas. So I think something like the 28th of June, I think it is, a Wednesday. So I will push my luck. They've got the annual AGM the month before, which is at Massam, and again they've got trips around both breweries there. And I did share with both. They've got a stunning week in Belgium. Unfortunately, you have to pay your own way, but they're going to Duval. They're going to all the great Belgian breweries. So it's a really interesting thing. In fact, last year they were mainly southern breweries, but there all seem to be northern breweries this year. So, and again, very valuable. I think £15 a year, very worth.
I'm going to join that.
It's good. Okay, so that was Nick and Bruce's little adventure.
Well, just hang on. Camera are doing a £4 off guest membership at the moment. So for family and friends, if you know anybody out there who has dabbled thinking about becoming a member of the Camera, I was just checking their site today and they're offering a £4 gift membership off. So it's worth having.
Very good. So I think we mentioned it in the last podcast that in between Christmas and New Year, Nicholas and I, the family, we set ourselves up to the little corner of where the Dales meets the lakes. So just kind of Ingleton, Kirkby Lonsdale way, and we found a very nice little place, just a little bit on its own, but with a cracking view. And again, if you're on YouTube, you can see that was the view from the little patio at the back of the barn, and that is the Ribble Head Viaduct.
I didn't realise it was so close as that. That's awesome.
And at the right hand of that picture, there is a pub, the Station Inn. But we'll perhaps come back to that in a minute. But I think, Nick, the find of our little, I think you've been there a few times before, but the find for me was Kirkby Lonsdale, which is a little market town that you tend probably to fly past if you're going to the Dales from the M6, or you go into the lakes from kind of central North Yorkshire. It's obviously the main road kind of just skirts it around. I think probably helps a little bit. But a cracking little place with some very, very fine pubs. And to be quite honest, we couldn't really do it justice because, although we were there for five or so days, we only managed to get in a couple of these pubs. But a real collection of solid Cumbrian, because we're just in Cumbria this bit, but with a bit of Lancashire and a bit of Yorkshire. Some old-fashioned ones, some more modern ones. So number 9 is actually a tapas bar that serves cask beer. Some Robbo's, surprisingly. So the Red Dragon is a very solid Robinson's pubs. A very fine sausage purveyor, Bruce Dales, who were artisan butchers, which is that Dales is nestled within, well, there's a pub one side of it, and across the road there's 2 more pubs. So it's your kind of place.
Absolutely.
So cracking little place. Our pick of the little village is, first of all, the Orange Tree, which is quite a posh name, really, for what is a very down-to-earth, a very welcoming Cumbrian pub. This is where actually the brewery was, the Kirkby Lonsdale brewery actually began. The landlord looks like a bit of a large-and-life character. He's called, I've written it down somewhere. He was a plumber, so I think he's called something like Spanner or something like that. He's called, but he set the brewery up. It's a big rugby nut.
Drippy, or leaky, or
yeah. And so there's rugby stuff all over the place. And apparently, Orange Tree is one of the pubs near Twickenham, which was his favourite watering hole. So it's very much kind of local rugby club tap here. But again, we were in there on a fairly early on in the afternoon, but very welcoming. Fantastic array of beers on. I'm there. I'm on the Ruskin there, which was very nice. Kirkby Lonsdale Ruskin. So definitely worth a little bit out of the town through the very nice churchyard. And actually near where the Ruskin View is.
If you go in there, that's it. Make a note of the carpet. Now, the couple that Michael mentioned a bit earlier on about when we met them in the brewery, and they'd found this pub. And I said, "What do you think of the carpet?" And the woman said, "What do you mean the carpet?" I said, "Well, it's got a unique, stunning carpet, out of Wetherspoon's mould. That this carpet was obviously made specially for the pub because it's got the oranges on, it's got pints of ale, and it's also got the Kirkby Lonsdale Brewery logo. So anybody on YouTube, you can see a picture of it there, and it's quite a cracking carpet. Yeah. She didn't even notice it, so she said, "Oh, I'll have a look when we go in there tonight." So have a look at the carpet. Cracking carpet. I'd love to have that carpet in my own little pub.
And despite being out slightly out the town, it looked like they were gearing up for a pretty full lunchtime. I think we were there Sunday. I mean, they were just starting to reserve all those tables that you can see again if you're on the YouTube thing there. Yeah, cracking.
Through the back, they've got some like little booths which were quite. I don't know whether they've always been in the pub or whether they've been added. But very, very much like, once again, like Victorian eating booths, a quieter, sort of more private area for people to get in there. So I think they were very popular, people getting in there and have something to eat. So I went for a quick nosy round, but I think landlord and landlady were sat down with chef working out the menu. So I didn't get to look all the way around. But it's you have to know where it is, because it's not in the town centre as such. It's only a 5-minute walk from the town centre. But yeah, you've got to go around where the church is, and then it's up a road that would be taking you one way out the village. So it's worth just checking out on the map where it is. But then from there, you're only literally 5 minutes back at the town centre or the village town. I don't know what it is, Mike. Big village, small town, I would say.
And then the other key find was, of course, the brewery tap. So the brewery's now moved to a industrial unit slightly out of the town. But fairly recently, they bought what was an old barn in the middle of town. It's next to the Royal Hotel. So I think it's called, again, it gets a bit confusing. It's called the Brewery Tap. It's also called the Royal Barn, I think, as well. And inside, again, very intriguing building. Again, I've said on the photo there, don't be swayed by the empty streets. This place absolutely rammed. We managed to get away. In fact, we couldn't get a table when we first went in. We managed to get a table. Wow. Typical kind of barn conversion, really, fairly rough and ready. As you can see from the photos, it's all fairly industrial. Lots of pallets and things. They also do coffee. So there's at one end, there's a whole coffee grinding setup. There's this very small mezzanine floor as you come in through the front door. And again, some actually really interesting the way that they were selling their beers, really. they're good, smart. Really, you could try 6, 12, or 18 beers. Couldn't you? I think they had 18 beers on, and they had different kind of tasting levels, and it's really good value, Nick. I think it was like £6, wasn't it, for 6 halves that we tried. And they have special, as you can see there, special pallets there, and the beers were good. Yeah, interesting beers, good range, stouts, more lighter beers, more traditional kind of bitter beers. So yeah, really, really nice. Prices were pretty good. Absolutely rammed, full of dogs and people. And again, interesting urinals when you drank all that beer. So yeah, we won't go down the Nicholas one, but definitely Kirkby Lonsdale, definitely worth a visit. And again, if you can, certainly the orange tree, and the brewery tap. There's a car park next to brewery tap, so it's great there, just down from Booth's supermarket. So well worth a visit.
Well, that's my previous experiences of Kirkby Lonsdale. Really, is just stopping off the booths because, like you say, the main road that you wind around with is that nasty. You go over the river, the nasty speed camera, and then you climb the hill, and there's a little mini roundabout. You turn right to Booths, but you can actually then park in Booths and walk into the village within 5 minutes, and you actually pass by where that brewery tap is. So yeah, if you're going through Kirkby Lonsdale next time, it's worth just stopping off at Booths. Booths not as good enough they used to have with bottled beers. I mean, me and Bruce used to go on about it, what grand, fantastic range they used to have and how cheap they were.
They
still got a good range, not quite as good value as they used to be, but certainly it's worth just stopping off and just bobbing to the brewery.
Now, we need some proper time in proper Yorkshire, so we weren't far from Skipton, and Skipton never really fails to kind of please. So despite, I think we went on the 2nd of January, it was a very, very wet day. But again, managed to tick off two elusive bars, actually, that we've talked about, but certainly we've never been in. So they've got very posh spoons in Skipton, so we had to start in spoons. And I also had some vouchers in my pocket that were burning hole in my pocket. I've got actually the beer in there was really good. Normally is actually. So that's a Devonshire, which was a former Tetley's house. There is a micro bar virtually next door to the Wetherspoons, but it's never open when we were there. We did wonder whether it was closed, but we did find it was open. Well, we did manage to take off the Ref and Whistle, which is not very far from the Spoons. That's across the road and up a little alley. I've passed it a few times previously, but never managed to get in. So we managed to get in there, and we were the only customers, I've got to say. And I had a very interesting chat with the young chap who was in there. He's actually the owner's son. Looking a little bit worse for wear. Apparently done New Year's Eve. Didn't drink beer himself. So apparently been drinking Bailey's and Jameson's whiskey cocktails all of New Year's Eve. And 2 days later was still struggling slightly from a hangover. But he was good. He had a good chat with us. Again, more houses is their staple. They had 4 different beers on. We tried all 4. They were all very, very nice. And I think big Leeds pub, he said. So they do most of their business when the games are on. The big screen upstairs as well. So definitely worth popping in the Ref and Whistle. But the other one to tick off was the beer engine, which again, if you read anything about beer in Skipton, you'll hear about the beer engine. And as mentioned previously, it was Yorkshire Pub of the Year and actually was shortlisted as one of the top 4 pubs in the UK, but obviously got tapped by the Tamworth Tap. So again, interesting pub, Nick, wasn't it? Different, really. It's not a pub. It's, I don't know what it was, probably a shop or something. It's quite a small bar as you go in, little kind of snug area, little bar. But then they've managed to buy the unit next door as well, and that's kind of where Nick sat there. We were sat in the transition bit. You can just see again, if you know Skipton, the narrow boat through the back window there. Again, if you're on YouTube, if you look over Nick's shoulder, that window there, that's where the narrow boat is, which again is another cracking venue. But again, it was very nice. Good prices, good beer, a good range on, despite it being the 2nd of January. So again, somewhere we'll definitely go back.
Well, we literally had 1/4 of an hour in there because we'd arranged to meet the females in the party back at the car park. We'd actually parked in Morrison's, and so literally by the time we got there, we raced in. Bloke behind the bar said, "Yeah, what can I do, you lads?" I said, "We've literally got 1/4 of an hour." He went, "Oh right, okay." I said, "What do you recommend?" So I think I had a dark one. Michael you had a IPA, I think, and fortunately it wasn't busy. So yeah, it's another one to tick off.
And then last but not least, the pub at the end of the viaduct. So at the end of the Ribblehead Viaduct, so this is almost the opposite side to where we were staying, is the Station Inn. And again, it gets a fairly good write-up. It's a really interesting place if you want to find out about the viaduct. I think it was built at the time when they were building it for the navvies that were building it. Lots of information. I was a little bit disappointed. Unfortunately, the beers that I think they'd had a very busy New Year's period, so the beer choice wasn't brilliant. But despite that, it's in a stunning place. You can just about see again if you're on YouTube, the seat that's on the left-hand side of the bar there looks over that viaduct. So you need to get that seat if you get there early. Although you will have people drooling over you, ready to pounce when you move. They're doing quite a big
If
run
you
of
go
food.
for a poo, if you go for a pee, you also get a stunning view of the viaduct from the
Right,
window,
there you
don't
go.
you? I know. Yeah.
And they do a lot of camper vans. The car park was pretty much full of camper vans whenever we were there. So they do a little bit of a £5 a night for camper vans, which is great because it must be quite nice waking up to that view. So all in all, a very nice little trip. And if you want to read about that, my blog's gone out today. So again, if you want to have a quick look at pe.co.uk blogspot, I've written all that up into a bit more of that. So we're on our short time again, guys. So that's been a very quick blast through our kind of new year. What are the plans for this next weekend? It's rugby again. I think I might be out and about for rugby.
I'm going to Newcastle on Saturday. So I should be the Crown Passada and probably put Tynemouth.
And I'm taking advantage of the Transparent Express £1 rail tickets that they did a few weeks back. So I'm going to go to Malton to Leeds, catch the Northern Rail Leeds to Skipton. And then me and Jackie are going to do that walk that me and you did, Michael, on the Dales Way on the Old Roman Road.
Back to Ilkley.
So Skipton, back to Ilkley. So I might get a quick one in Skipton, couple in Ilkley, and then jump back on the train back to Leeds. So
you might need
the
your ice
day's
axe.
costing us about 12. No, yeah, it's there's not supposed to be any snow if it ever comes anyway. So I think it's costing us £12 return, literally from Malton to Skipton.
Very
and
good.
if I'm going to Wetherspoons, it'll be cheap there as well.
So we will catch up on that hopefully in a couple of weeks' time or so.